Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of the second season of Iterate. And today we have Atul Khola with us. Hi Atul, how are you?
Hello, folks. Thank you so much for having me here, Vansh.
Thank you
Super
so much.
excited to be here. And yeah, I think this is a good use of Sunday noon.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's Monday, but it's
yeah,
Sunday. So
Monday and Holi. Let's go guys. Happy Holi to everyone. I think ये episode बाद में आएगा, but okay. Yeah. So
how sad is my life? Let's go.
okay, moving forward with guys, the first question for Atul, a difficult one. Who is Atul Khola?
Wow. Yeah, I think we discussed this right before this call, and I think I still haven't come up with an answer for this. But yeah, I think I'm someone that's hard to bucket that way. Like, I think I have various random interests, but something that's very close to me is design. And I'm very lucky to be in a very amazing, super talented team with good humans at CRED right now. So that's where I design, and I'm one of the lead designers there, and I'm designing those experiences. Beyond that, I partly like the whole fitness space, which has been pretty regular for me. And yeah, I keep trying on new things. But yeah, let's talk about design.
Okay, amazing. So I think most of you all know who Atul is. If you don't know, guys, please go touch some grass. That is important. Design से बाहर निकलो, जानो कौन लोग. Atul is a person who graduated from NIFT Mumbai, and now he is working full time at CRED as a senior product designer. All right, introductions are done. You obviously guys know who Atul is. Moving forward, guys, with this podcast, I wanna dive again with the future of design. We have done this with few other guests, but I think Atul is the right person to speak with about future. Yeah. So Atul, first question first. What do you think about the future of design in India specifically right now?
I think that's pretty ironical because I don't know my own. Like I suck at planning. I don't even know what's going to happen next week for me. So it's funny how I have to kind of share this around design. But like most of the things that I don't know about, I still have opinions around it. So why the fuck not? Let's share those. I think AI is going to be the next changer for us. I think there's a lot of good stuff that's happening in there. At the same time, this is something which I hear is something that scares people a lot too. And so I think it has been a very fascinating space to kind of for me as well. And I would actually like to know your view around this. Like, how are you optimistic around AI coming in? Are you someone who feels like shit's gonna take my job? I think you are pretty much studying right now. So yeah, how do you feel about it?
So as a student right now in design, I'm not studying design or anything, but as a hobby into designing, I have been asking this question to every single guest. Like, what do you think about the AI replacing us designers, and what do you think what will happen? One straight up answer that I've gotten is no, it will be a tool. But I think they are just faking it. They also know somewhere deep in their minds that okay, the AI is actually dangerous because when we see tools like Devin AI coming in, suddenly there's a whole halchal in software engineers. अब क्या होगा? Oh shit, ये क्या होगा?
Right.
Because as designers, we are the friends of we are sort of friends with developers, right? And
Right.
we have to respect when it comes to when they are coding. But when you have a tool like Devin, you don't need those developers. You can
Right.
feed in the specific design layout, a rough sketch, and it will literally code it like in any specific language. So I think down the line 5 years, everyone is safe. But down the line 10 years, it can be something crazy. So right now I'm optimistic. Let's see. But obviously the AI cannot replicate the human touch. Okay.
Right.
So
For now.
Yeah, for now. For now. Yeah. So I think that is the case for me. What do you think?
Right. So tell me something, like what were you doing 10 years back?
10 years back, I was probably eating my thumbnails, and I was studying in, I think 10 years back, I was in second standard.
And now I feel old, but okay.
Yeah, third.
But I think, yeah, so I think let's talk about that, right? Like, right now we're calling it AI, and I think AI is the latest how around this thing, like, oh, what's this going to do and how things are going to change for us, right? But if you think about it, I think, let's call it tech and advancement for a while instead of AI, right? And if you think about it, that has stayed with us for a very long time now. Like, I remember, like, I have barely seen those phones back in the day that go like trr, 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 like, right? And I've seen that Nokia ka pathar wala phone which people in Noida were using as weapons and throwing around each other, like. And I remember holding that phone and being like, playing snakes on it and being like, fuck, I think technology has peaked. This is the best shit that's gonna happen. And funnily, today, my life, like how we communicated to be on this podcast, happened through the same device. Me ordering food to me commuting from one place to the other, every single thing happens from the same device. So we have seen things evolving, we have adapted, we have actually successfully been able to use it to the best thing possible for us, right? Our life completely depends on this double. So I think if we have gone through this evolution once, maybe we should not be scared of it again. Like, we are capable of doing this. But at the same time, like, let's think about it, right? When humans created tools, we stopped moving around, we start settling around places, we start creating civilization, food, and people's, like, civilization was made. The last time when the whole industrial revolution came in, machines were created which were doing what men used to do much more faster, much more conveniently, much more efficiently, and the whole kind of civilization moved forward. So this has happened multiple times. Let's take an example of the press, the industrial press that came in. Now, when that came in, did people lose jobs? Yes. But at the same time, books were being made much more faster, much more cheaply, and great ideas could reach to the end of the world, which was not possible earlier. So AI is something that, and all of this was possible because of human intelligence. And now what we have created is artificial intelligence, which doesn't get tired, which can think and do things, create iterations far faster than we can. So yes, the change is exponential for sure. But I think it is something to be also excited about, because let's say when the printing press thing happened, it didn't mean that we stopped giving a fuck about the idea of communication. We didn't stop caring about the experience of reading itself. Like, we didn't stop caring about typography.
Yeah.
So people who kind of took a step back, adapted to the change, kind of reworked on the skill set and came back, they came back stronger. Like, the reason that we are currently reading on iPads and stuff is because someone really adapted and took that whole journey ahead. So I think, yes, people might lose jobs, but people who kind of take a step back and be like, what, let me analyze this, let me upskill myself, they're going to come back stronger. I think it's time that we might not want to be, we might want to stand around the shore and be scared about it. We might want to take up that paddle, maybe swim a little, and eventually ride that wave. It's something that should be added to your arsenal rather than be scared of. Like, take an example of accountants back in the day, right? When first time someone launched a calculator, they were like, fuck, I think my job's gone.
Yeah.
But instead we got faster accountants, easier workflows. So I think AI is going to be that next thing that's going to be integrated. It's going to scare a good amount of people. And there will be people who will be like, oh, you know what, let me make the best out of it. I think we should all try to be the latter.
Fair. And I think evolution here does not stop. Yeah. We have been in 2000, like 24 years back, we were, experiencing the internet boom. Yeah. We were
Right.
experiencing the www. Wala whole, everyone is developing a website. HTML and CSS was only there. Then we got JavaScript. Then the websites got more elaborated, and then we got Web 2. Now we are developing towards Web 3 and whole
Right.
blockchain thingy and everything. I think you must have heard of it. And now, talking about that, this one specific question that comes into mind is, as we are talking about AI in the future, how do you specifically do? First question first. Do you use these tools for designing?
Hell yeah. For designing, for communication. I think for me, the biggest, like, I hate typing.
Okay.
And I would do anything to kind of hide from that thing. So for me now, communication has become much more easier, especially the official ones. Like, I have the Chat GPT app. I'll switch on the mic. I'll be like, hey, this is like everything I want to say. This is the person I'm going to send it to. Can you just construct it and send it to me? It makes it, and I'll just maybe make the tone a little bit more sophisticated or more friendly or more casual. It does that job, and I just forward it.
Right.
I think even for designs, I think there's so many places where you would end up sitting with a PM and be like, hey, can you write the copy for this? Should I write the copy for this? The character limit, design space. Now I can simply tell it that, hey, this is what I want to communicate. This is the word limit. Create something fast. It's going to give you right then and there. I think there's so many things that earlier we were spending either a lot of time on, or we were kind of okay not making it perfect because we didn't have the time to go through those number of iterations. Now those things come so much more quicker. So I think I honestly love the fact that it is here, and I think I use it as much as I can.
Fair. What other design tool, AI tools do you use?
I think so. I'm not someone who gets super excited every time there's a new tool in town. Like for me, I think the what is something that comes much sooner than the how. So for me, I think exploring works the best when I have an idea and I'm finding ways to execute it. So tools don't really excite me. It's like, oh, if I have a great idea, then I'll kind of go and figure out which is the best tool out there currently. Therefore, I think Midjourney was in the same for a very long time.
Yeah.
I think I was talking to you about like how selectively curious I am. Like I was like, yeah, great, but abhi kuch kaam nahi hai to I won't figure it out. And when I had to, I think, create something for it, trying to do some new construct for Designare, and I was like, oh, I need something like, in a Greek sandstone-ish texture. I need some of these sculptures as a what do you say, as an asset. I went there and I had so much fun creating that. I understood what works, what doesn't work, what kind of prompting is going to work out for me. And yeah, I think that's how I kind of went into Midjourney. So I think pretty much everything that I've figured out so far, it has always come after the what. If I'm completely driven towards the what, then the how eventually comes into place. And I think that's something I've always pushed for, even in terms of motion design. Like, don't try to look for tutorials and just replicate tutorials. Figure out an idea. Be like, oh, you know what? I have this idea where the ball comes and bounces and goes away. Once you have an idea, then you start figuring out how do you kind of execute that, because that thing stays. Like blindly following tutorials and replicating something doesn't stay. When it's your own idea, when it's originality, when it's authentic, that is when you kind of remember these things, and you'll be amazed how naturally this thing will happen as you keep on going. Like the next time you create something similar, you'll realize that, oh, there's something called easing. Then you're like, oh, there's something called motion blur, and that journey is beautiful because it gets into multiple threads eventually.
Wow. Like I have been trying to explore this area of when you're teaching someone specifically this thing that a lot of people keep following tutorials. Guys, the thing that Atul said, if you didn't understand, please watch it again and again until you understand that, because I think this is where the specific design creativity is born in your mind. As Atul mentioned that he is selectively curious, I think the specific personality of being specifically curious is every designer out there, right? If you are designing and if you are not selectively curious, you'll just be curious about everything. Don't you agree, Atul? And you will try to implement every single thing. So be selectively curious, be unpredictable. And Atul, hats off to you specifically for saying this, because I will now again watch it and again watch it so that I can oh bhai ye kya bol diya, ye pehli baar suna hai. Okay, moving forward, one question that, as we are talking about future, what do you think, which specific field will be next big field in design?
I think experiences are gonna here to stay. Like I think so like till now our life has revolved around this 640 into 320 pixel dimension thing, right? I think what will keep on evolving is the canvas of this. I think what we're currently seeing is XR and Vision Pro coming into the scene. I think it took us so many years for this dabba to get adopted across multiple tiers. Like I remember my mom saying like, I don't know, phones are just for calling, I'm not gonna get into this. And now I see her putting up statuses on WhatsApp and checking stories, and who's checking her stories. Like she's so much into it, right? So I think it took so many years for this one device to get adapted into multiple tiers, at least in India, and abroad it went even faster. So I think the reason why all businesses right now are apps is because phone is accessible to everyone, and everyone wants to be on a space which is there for everyone, right? So I think the next version, even if let's say Vision Pro kicks in, I think it was gonna take a much longer time for that to get adapted across all places too, because it's a much more delicate device. And even if the device will evolve over time till it reaches, it's gonna turn into some lenses. But there's a good amount of time there. I think designing for is gonna be pretty exciting. But I think the time it becomes as widespread is going to be much longer than what a lot of us are expecting. But I think design for experiences is never going to end, because if there is something that people are going to use, there's a need going to be something for someone who's going to design that. So I think design for experience is going to stay. We are not going to lose our jobs for sure. Uh, I think there is this fluidity that's gonna come into this space, where people are not gonna look at stuff like I see a lot of these rules that existed, like thumb rule, like it has to be here. Now it was when the phones were made, and they were like we're supposed to fit in your palm, and then now we are at a point where that's not the case anymore. So those rules don't no longer apply. And give it some more time, when the whole Vision Pro thing is gonna come in, Computer is gonna come in, Xiaomi will have its own cheaper version of it. Like it's gonna spread across, right? Now the rules of interactions are gonna change. It's gonna be like, oh, how do you pick things around here and there? So I think I don't think there's gonna be a new field, but I think the existing field is gonna adapt. Where this whole, I think design is too volatile to have set of rules, these Hex law and all of these things to exist. So I think that thing is gonna eventually go away, where people, they like we find so many applications, people go like, oh, I have learned from this Google course of UX design, all of that stuff. I think while it creates a foundation, I think even they will have to adapt. Design education will have to adapt to say that we don't know what's going to happen next. So just understand the first principle, understand how core experience are designed, and that's going to be super fluid in terms of whatever canvas you're given.
So as you were talking about education, so guys, Atul has this huge community called based on design, called Design Drug. And I wanted to ask you, Atul, what are your plans with Design Drug as a community? Do you plan to take it in the education side, or do you plan to just keep on hosting different events? What are your plans?
I think Design Drug was something that was my brainchild since college. So the best thing about this was it was never supposed to be one thing.
Okay.
So that's why I think. So I think when I started off, I didn't have a lot of mentorship in that space until I found my mentor Malik, and I think I could see the difference between not having him versus having him. So I could realize like there's so many people who are interested in this space, but they don't have that version of Malik for them. So Design Talk was supposed to be that space where we'll come together and they're able to help out each other and stuff. And again, I don't come from a business family. I don't have a very, little founder mind either. What I really love is creating something and then see how it really works in this space. So I think Design Talk for me is that space where every time I have something as a radical idea in terms of, maybe helping out or growing out. And the best part about this is it grows with me. Every time I kind of find value in something, the goal is to share it across people. So that's why I think it's not a very active community either. Like whenever we have an idea, we're together, we do something and people go away.
Yeah.
They do their own thing. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like I don't want it to be defined in a way that, hey, this is going to be another cohort course thing or it's going to be another thing. I don't think I even want to, work around monetizing it or something like that. It comes from a very different space for me. It's more about being that space where which can gather people to create something awesome. And that's what we say, like, up in बहुत छोटे, like we are not competing with any of the big guys out there. The whole point is you learn from wherever you want to learn. Let's just create together. So every time there's the point of creating, like we'll come together, we'll create something amazing, and then you do your own thing.
Yeah.
But if I have a great idea, I'll always kind of try to call you back. And I think that's the best part about it. Like the people who are a part of Design Talk, they're so amazing. Like sometimes I don't even know what they're doing. They'll just simply take the branding. I realized we were randomly on one of the banners of one of these hackathons that happened because someone from the community was like, hey, can I take this? I plan to organize something. They went there, created that whole community wala thing, gave them hackathon task, made this whole thing. I had no fucking clue about this was happening. And I think that's the best part about it. I eventually wanted to be much bigger than me. So it's like some people will take it forward. So yeah, I think it comes from a very different space as compared to like it has to be about me.
Interesting. So how do you plan like the future with specific designer people? Because I am a part of Designare. I have been joining here and there voice channels with different people, and I have met a lot of design drug people as well. So,
Okay.
what do you plan on taking? For example, I'm a designer person, right? I want to learn
Right.
UI UX, hardcore UI UX, and I get want to get into big company design for big company.
Right. I think for what I've realized, I think there is a part of design that is easily understandable through books.
Mhm.
And by practicing something like, just by doing it multiple times, you'll understand like a lot of this is theory, which people can easily put into the UX part of things. It's like understanding frameworks so that next time I give you a problem, you can put it in a framework and you'll be able to solve it, right?
Mhm.
Now that is a part that you can learn because you're conditioned to be learning this in school. Like how do you absorb things? How do you,
Yeah.
convert information, dissect it, and put something out there? Now, beyond that part is a part which is pure craft, which is creation, which is UI. So I think that is something like you might get interested in design. Let's say after 12th or you're in college and you're like, oh, I want to design. Now, while you have the interest for it, you might not have the craft for it.
Mhm.
And the thing about crafters, people who have been artists since they were kids, they have an eye for it. They have been working on that craft so long. Like अब उनके पास एक natural taste है जो that you are missing out on. And what happens in most of these cases is it's very hard for us to accept things that we're not good at. So we try to find ways of saying that, hey, maybe this is not for me, or even better, maybe this is not that great in its space, right? The number of UI versus UX memes that you see on LinkedIn and all the places is a great, representation of that. So I think one of the goals that we did was like, hey, you know what? UX is something that I can tell you a book you can read there, and maybe there's so many courses, cohort courses that kind of teach you that space. But UI is something that is not something that you can cover by saying I'll give you a class on it, you'll remember. It's something that you have to hammer day in, day out. Because if you've not learned it earlier, you have to learn it now. And I think that's when we came with Build as a framework. We have had like I think 2 seasons of it so far.
Okay.
Uh, and we're like, okay, how do we go about this? So we said, let's gamify this experience. When I started out, there was this whole thing called daily UI. So you take up like a
Yeah.
100 days challenge or
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
daily
There's
challenge.
this website. Yeah.
Right. Right. So I think people used to take that up. And the thing is, you'll get a prompt every day, you create,
Yeah.
create, create. And when you do something for so many days together, you're bound to get good at it. Like there is no other way out of it, right? But what it takes is serious commitment and, like you have to be in that space. Now we're like, okay, let's create this framework, but let's gamify this a little. So we said there's going to be a small entrance amount so that you only have you have a friction for not so that not everyone gets in, but a certain set of people get in. And whatever this amount is, a part of it gets pooled into something. People who are consistent for 90 days, which you divided into phases, like first month is all about replication, second month is all about creating by yourself, third month is about adding motion to those creations. But 90 days you have to create every single day. And people, like let's say 100 people join in the start, people who are consistent by the end of it will get this pool divided amongst themselves. So while the cherry on the cake is the money, the actual cake is what you really wanted to be. Was good at UI, you're good at UI by the end of it. But we gamified that a little. And we also added this whole social angle to it, which said that see, it's not easy to be consistent for 90 days. Some days you're feeling great, some days you're feeling like shit, some days there's so much work,
Yeah.
boss chilla raha hai, kuch work, like there's so much shit happening out there, right?
Yeah.
So we said for those days, start pushing your work out there. Because it's not like then you'll be like, 3 months later, I'm like this amazing and people will know about it, that you're so good at UI. So people need to see the journey because people relate to stories, and this is your story of unfolding into someone who's good at this. And people started doing that. Some of them were reluctant about it. What it really, really helped in is people who are consistent with this, they started posting their work every single day too. And then some people were like, dude, I love how consistent you are. This is amazing. Keep going at it and all of those things. For the days that they didn't feel like doing, they felt like they have to do it because they are actually inspiring so many other folks. And because someone yesterday said that I love your consistency, today they can't be inconsistent. They have to go for it. It was this amazing loop of creating and then also getting motivated to create more, like which kept these people in. And I think we actually saw a number where people who were pushing online, they actually went through the 90 days. They actually were successful, and people were like, oh, and I think they had great first 2 weeks. Third week mein aake ek din chuta, 2 din chuta, फिर they were never able to catch up, and there was a weekly check on this. So then they got eliminated. But I realized, like, you need to have a why that is so strong that you really need to put 90 days into this. And people who had a strong why, they went through with it. The social validation worked. The cherry on the cake was a nice, sweet ending to that experience. And I think that's when we validate, like, build as a experience really works. And I think by far it has one of the most successful frameworks we have created. We have tried a couple of others after that. Some of them were good, some of them are like, okay, this needs some iteration, but that's the whole creating an experience. You learn, then you're like, okay, this needs some changes, I'll do something different. So yeah, it is going through those cycles.
As we were talking about consistency, first of all, this model that you're talking about, it's amazing. So I think being innovative is very important today in design. And with Designare, I see your innovation, and I think that's the segment of companies and communities I feel like are on the upper hand, and that's where if you have access to these guys, you are sorted for life. And with Atul Khola, I can bet with my eyes closed, go for it. As soon as I saw, first of all, I just saw a design drug community is there. I didn't know it was founded by you. Then when I came to heard about, oh my god, this is founded by Atul Khola, चलो कोई वो ही नहीं है, कोई सोचने वाली चीज ही नहीं है, इसमें तो ज्वाइन करना है. Okay, moving forward.
Now I feel guilty that I'm not that active, that I should do something about it.
Actually, you can be active, from this now. Let's go. Designer will motivate design drug to get activated. So, Atul, one more thing that you love to do is gymming, and obviously, fitness is a very important part of human being.
Right.
The main problem, either be it design, either be it gym, we face today as students is consistency.
Right.
Keeping the same specific mindset when you have, like, when you're feeling super high, when your day is super good, you're feeling that energy, you are going to the gym, blasting it out, designing amazing products, so your day is good. But when your day is bad, you don't want to do anything.
Right.
How do you deal with that? Because today, as we were talking, there were a series of bad events happened at your place. Bangalore mein pani nahi hai, etc., etc. And still you went to the gym. Still after this call, you will be doing something, productive.
Don't put pressure on me. For all I know, I don't want to do anything about that. But yeah, go ahead.
But yeah. So how do you keep this consistency build?
It's pretty much about the mindset, is what I believe. I think a lot of people talk about motivation, inspiration. I think first it's very important to understand the difference between both. I think motivation is always a push. Like sometimes someone will tell you, hey, I think you should do this because it's going to be good for you and everything. And when you're trying to do that, you're trying to give someone a reason from your perspective in terms of why things should be done. And I think while that sometimes can help, a push is still a push. I think what you should really figure out for yourself, and I think it requires a lot of deep self-reflection, is inspiration. Like inspiration by all means in spirit. It's not a push, it's a pull. So that means there is something that means so much to you that it is actually driving you towards it. And when you have that strong, on those days you are not depending upon something like aaj mera mood kaisa hai. And that's where discipline comes in. When you're inspired enough, when your why is so strong that this needs to happen. Why? Because there is this bigger picture that I'm so invested in. I think that is when discipline comes in. So no matter right or good mood, bad mood, great day, bad day, kuch bhi ho gaya, like ye hona hai, it becomes a part of your routine. And I think that is very important to figure out, because what happens is people see some video, they're like, I'm so pumped up, they go and they'll work out. You see you have this recent appraisal cycle, it wasn't good enough, you're like, shit, I'm gonna show it to everyone. You start working out super hard. 2 hafte baad you're like, yeah, back to normal. Because there's never been a why that you associate to so strongly that you settle for it. You went for a momentary dopamine adrenaline rush and you did it for a couple of days and it eventually dries out. I think what it requires is to have, like, I'll give an example. I think for the longest time, I used to feel like people who are not, someone who actually relate to art and creativity, they should not get into design.
Okay.
But that is something that has now changed.
Hmm.
Like I don't share that perspective anymore. Like what I feel is you can have something as your motivation as something like, oh, you know what, I want to be in design because it pays well.
Hmm.
And it is okay to have something that drives you which is as transactional as this, but what's really important is it has to mean that much to you. Like your why has to be so strong.
Hmm.
Like this need to be, let's say, super amazing, or let's say this need to be like super well earning needs to be so strong for you
Hmm.
that you're okay to, like put you that you have to do justice to this task. Like you cannot half-ass your way into this at any point in time. You gotta be doing justice because you create the next standard of experience for a lot of people in this world. So you're pitching into that, so you can't half-ass that. Like you should feel about it in a way that if tomorrow I'm no more, what I created today or what I created yesterday, I can put my name on that, and that's going to be the last thing that I made, and I should be proud of it.
Damn.
Like you need to feel that way about it, and it's okay if you're, what drives you or what your why is not like I love art and I love creativity and I love craft. It's okay.
Hmm.
Passion is something that can be easily be sold. Oh, I'm so passionate about this. Yo, someone offers me 10x of this, I take my passion, I'll go there. It's okay to have to feel that way about it. But whatever is the most important why for it has to be that strong that you never half-ass this.
So, wow. First of all, first word that comes out of me. Wow. I think this specific mindset is what I was talking about with Puneet Chawla as well. Because with Puneet, do you know Puneet by any chance?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're meeting in Ahmedabad soon.
Okay, wow. So with Puneet Chawla as well, he said this specific one thing that he also believes in a true hardworking mindset, and manifestations and passions and everything comes the long way. And as a designer, as a human being, if as you mentioned the inspirate wala part, that hits, And guys, if you can actually relate, you might understand the whole meaning of how you can drive yourself through the way. And with the future coming in mind now, Atul, ending the podcast today on a simpler note, what are your simple tips and tricks that you want to give the audience? It can be
I think-
anything. It can be life related. It can be design related.
Yeah, I think something that I spoke to this person recently, and this person is like I think more than 50% paralyzed. He's a designer. This person stays in his bed all day. He designs from that space. And I think I got a beautiful text from him where he's like, you know what, this journey has been so great so far, and he said a lot of nice things. Something that stuck with me was he's like, I would love if you could also talk about, uh, like mental wellness, because that is something that we end up like everyone's like inspiring and like hustle and do all of this, and like no one talks about this one part because they feel like it is implicit, but it's not, because the people who are like into this space, like life में स्यापा तो सबके पास है, like there's no one who's like, oh fuck, my life's so amazing all the time, right? Everyone has problems, but we end up kind of forgetting about that because we feel like everyone's just like running towards their goals and no one has any obstacles in the way, which is not true. Like something I would really want people to relate with is like I don't know, you're in college right now, right? So do you believe like you were working super hard towards something to be good at something? Like do you think you're putting in a lot of work towards it?
I think I'm putting fair amount of work
Right.
towards the work.
But do you relate to hustle?
Yeah.
Right. Now what happens during college days is we have assignments, we have sleepless nights and weeks, and we put in a lot of work. And when we put in a lot of work, what eventually comes is, if we put in a lot of work, it's definitely going to be good or substantial for people to look at. And then you get like good marks, or if you're a freelance, you get good money, and eventually leads to happiness. So what we eventually start kind of looking at towards this whole concept is hustle leads to happiness eventually. And this circle repeatedly happens over the 4 years of college, masters, whatever, and you start doing that in a job. And this connection becomes more and more stronger, right? Now, the only thing that you understand is I hustle and I get happy. now बीच का सब कुछ अपन भूल जाते हैं कि कनेक्शन क्या बन रहा है. And there comes a time where life feels a little better, where everything's going nice, things feel amazing, and तुम थोड़े relax हो चुके हो. And then there's this voice inside you that pops up and says, is this comfort zone? Like, am I not doing because this feels happy, but at the same time I'm not hustling. So is this something that if I keep enjoying this moment, will I end up being stuck here forever? Will I never grow more? And then you get guilty, and then you start doing whole, and that's where the whole imposter syndrome kicks in. There's so
Yeah.
much shit that gets rushed, right?
Then you are up
Sometimes it's important to understand that maybe what feels happy right now is exactly what you have been working towards so far to reach here, and maybe this is that space that you worked hard for. And it's important to enjoy this space too, because it's like light and dark. Like, unless you have this, you can't relate to the other one. So it's important to have these moments. It's important to like enjoy these moments so that you can actually next day be like, this is what fun was, let me experience hustle again. And that is a healthy loop to exist. But if you keep thinking about कि यार ये अच्छा लग रहा है, अच्छा तो नहीं लगना चाहिए, because hustle doesn't feel great, it feels tiring, it feels exhausted, and that's when happiness comes. So let me get back into that. I think identification of comfort zone is very important. So yeah, maybe it's not comfort zone, maybe it's all you've worked out so far for. So enjoy those moments. And yeah, I mean, right after you're done listening to this podcast, maybe go out for drinks, have fun, text people, flirt a little, like just have fun. Like, you're more than your pixels. Like, there's so much more to us than what we do for a living. So make sure that it's not like all your energy is going into this one orb. Make sure that your other orbs are healthy as well, because there will be days when this is not going to do so well.
Yeah.
You need to have something else to feel like, okay, this is fucked, let me pick this one, this feels nice.
Yeah.
So
amazing. I think today's discussion was quite optimistic, and I really feel like Atul is a type of person who is perfect for the next big thing for design. Maybe, probably. Just saying. Be careful, guys. Atul can एक तो देखो पहले ही सर इज डूइंग जिम एंड एवरीथिंग. आपने सर का बॉडी देखा नहीं है. सर की वेबसाइट पे जाओ, सर की वेबसाइट देखो. फ्रेमर को तबाही मचा के रखे अतुल सर ने. देन वी हैव ऑब्वियसली क्रेड, कैन नॉट लीव अतुल. क्रेड भाई लो प्लीज जाने मत देना. You have to beat the other big players as well. Okay, Atul, thank you so much for joining me. I was ranting over there, but yeah.
And thanks you so much for the kind word. It was really amazing being here. And I know I've been a pain in the ass in terms of the timing of this, but hopefully this is a flaw that I have a bit accepted about myself, that I just suck at it, but I'm trying to be better at it eventually. So yeah, more punctuality in the future.
Let's go. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this episode, and I think you gained something from today's discussion. And if you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Do join our community and Design Drug as well. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.